Hello, I'm Adam Barralet of Crystal Connections, and welcome to my February forecast of what's happening up in the heavens and the skies and how we can use the gifts of Mother Earth to support us throughout February 22. Now, normally I'm outside, but today, Uranus, the eastern wind, is going crazy out there. So I've come inside and we may get some visits from some wildlife of my cats if they decide that they want to come and say hello at any point in time. But let's have a look at what's happening throughout February 2022. Well, for many of us, we've kind of got over that holiday period and we're getting back into, the new year, what are we going to achieve and that type of thing. The good news is there's a lot of energies in February that are actually supporting you in getting yourself into gear and getting into action. And we don't have any major kind of planetary retrogrades or anything apart from Mercury just popping out of retrograde on the 4th of January. So it should be a pretty smooth running and efficient month overall. However, what can you expect? Let's dive in and have a look. First of all, let's have a look at the lunar cycle. So we actually kick off the month on the 1st of February with the new moon in Aquarius. Now, new moons, of course, are a time to stop and contemplate. Oh, I told you we're going to get a visitor, didn't I? This is Ava. Say hello, Ava. Pop down and don't put your claws in me, please. Good girl. Okay, so the new moon, of course, is a time of new beginnings. It's a time to look at what's been working, what hasn't, and it's more of a contemplative time. Whereas I like the full moon for magic and for, putting out your desires into the universe and kind of having an agreement with the universe of where you'd like to actually, where you'd like to commune and where you'd like to bring change. This is more of a contemplative time of what needs to happen. And this works really quite well. This new moon being in Aquarius, and remember, we had Mercury in retrograde in Aquarius. So we've been giving a lot of thought basically to how do I make a difference in this year into making this world a better place. The Aquarian sign is very much about community and it's about finding utopia, how to make this world better. I often find that the Aquarian energy is almost like the light worker, bringing love, light, hope, and faith. So you don't have to be an Aquarius, but we start contemplating around this time, how do I start to make this world a better place? So take some time. I like to do a bit of a cup of tea meditation where I will just sit outside in the darkness of night and just contemplate those questions. Okay, what can I do this year to make this world a better place? I also take out a different crystal and a different essential oil at this time. So the crystal I've chosen for this new moon in Aquarius is Nebula Stone. Now, it's kind of referred to Nebula Stone because it has this kind of, like the nebulas in the sky if you had a bit of a telescope. It's found in the Americas. You're gonna have a cough now, are you? Stop upstaging me. So Nebula Stone really helps us to feel comfortable on this earth. And sometimes, people that are drawn to the new age and drawn to spirituality may sometimes feel a bit disconnected. Maybe they feel that they're from, another planetary system or another star place. And Nebula Stone really helps us to find our comfort here on the planet, to open up to the wonder, and then see how can we be at our best while we're here. We're obviously here on a mission. What can we do? So Nebula Stone's a really great one to sit with during that time to feel comfortable on the earth and then work out how you can make a difference on the earth. The oil that I've chosen is black spruce. Now, black spruce, first of all, is, its Latin name is Picea mariana, and that Mariana is a reference to Mother Mary. So when I meditate with this oil, the first few interactions I had with it, the mantra that kept on echoing in my mind was the universe has my back. And it's like, it really has a celestial kind of hug that you're all supported at this time. But what I also noticed is black spruce, if you were to fly over a forest of black spruce and look down on it, what you'd see is you'd see all these different branches going out in different directions. They look like stars. So when we have a field of stars above us, it's mirrored by a field of stars below with the black spruce. So black spruce really helps to open up to this wonderment of the universe as well. And that's very much Aquarius energy. So where we're working with this Nebula Stone and black spruce around this new moon, it's a time to kind of go, this world's amazing. I'm amazing. You're amazing. How can I bring those gifts and make this world even more amazing in that contribution? So it just needs to be a contemplation. You may like to journal or diarize or write some things down, or maybe you'll just have some epiphanies of what you can actually do. And this works really well with the Mercury and retrograde that's been happening. We've been contemplating as well, how do I make this world a better place? So then we go to the full moon. Let me grab my full moon goodies. The full moon is on the 16th of February, and this is a great time for, because it's in Leo, this is a really important moon, I find. It kind of gets a bit neglected. Now, Leos, of course, they're very big-hearted, they're very gregarious, but the Leo sign also is governed, here comes some trouble, just wait. We should have put the kittens in another room. Here comes the kitten. Here's Hugo, who likes to annoy Ava. Okay, so full moon is in Leo. So Leo governs the aspect, a very important aspect of life, an aspect that we often neglect, and that is pleasure, leisure, and play. So when we have the full moon, we look at how can I bring a bit more pleasure and joy into my life? What am I kind of not doing that, am I getting too much caught up in work? Am I too much worried in stress? Am I not laughing enough? All those different types of things. And we basically sit with the full moon and we kind of make an agreement of what we'd like to do to bring more joy, pleasure, leisure into our lives. How do we have some time for that each and every day? So you may want to hold a candle and charge a candle with that intention, and each day light that candle as you do something you enjoy. Claws. So that can be a really nice way to celebrate the full moon in Leo. The crystal that I've chosen is a really high vibration crystal when it comes to the moon, and it's blue topaz. So topazes they come in colors from oranges and pinks, which have a very solar energy, all the way through to white, clear, and then blue. So the orange ones, like imperial topaz, are associated with the sun. This is associated with the moon. So you have your sunstone and your moonstone, and then if you were to kind of go up an energetic octave, that's just a term I made up right there, you'd kind of go to imperial topaz and blue topaz. So blue topaz has that real regal energy about it, that real kind of, I deserve to have joy in my life. And when we think of the symbol of Leo, it's a lion. Now, lions are very powerful. They'll go and do what they need to do to catch their prey and so on. But when their work is done, what do? Oh, just like a certain kitten is right now. I've had enough of eating and playing, so I'm going to just relax now, and giving yourself that leisure time. So how can you do that? And blue topaz really helps you to demand that you have the right to enjoy life and that it doesn't always have to be a struggle. The oil I've chosen to go with it is yellow mandarin. Now, when we think of mandarins, we often think of the sun, and citruses are very joyous and happy, which is that very solar energy, which is Leo. But because we're looking at the full moon, it's interesting. Mandarin oils, there are three. There's green mandarin from the unripe fruit, yellow mandarin from the semi-ripe fruit, and then orange mandarin from the fully ripe fruit. And sometimes I like to work with green mandarin being new moon, yellow mandarin full moon, and then red mandarin being the dark moon, or the completion of the lunar cycle. So if we think about, we're halfway through our lunar cycle with the full moon. We're halfway through our projects. We're working on different aspects of our lives right now. And this really helps us to make sure that we enjoy what we're doing in our lives. Yellow mandarin is really good for adults, because what happens sometimes when we're adults is we get caught up in adulting. And it's all very serious, and I've got to do these adult things. And we forget to have fun, like children do. And yellow mandarin helps remind us to make sure that we're having fun and having some pleasure and leisure in our lives, because we're not enjoying what we're doing. We've actually fallen off alignment with our life mission. So that's what we can expect for the lunar cycle, and to focus on just a bit of contemplation around the new moon, and maybe holding a candle and setting your intention as you hold the crystal and smell the oil as well, of bringing more pleasure and leisure into your life and how you're actually going to do that. So that's what's happening with the moon in February. What's happening with the sun? Well, we actually have what's called a cross-quarter celebration happening in February. So we have our equinoxes when the sun is over the equator, and we have our solstices when the earth is tilted either one way or the other, and we have our longest day or our shortest day. But in between those, we actually have a solstice, and these will vary depending on whether you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. So first of all, let's have a look at the southern hemisphere. So in the southern hemisphere, we are halfway between our summer solstice and our autumn equinox. And this is a celebration that has been celebrated by pagans for thousands of years, known as Lughnasadh. This is a time to celebrate the harvest. It's a time to look at what have we achieved in a year and how do we celebrate that. So it works really well with this full moon in Leo energy. It's a great time to take stock of what has served us and to share the fruits of our labor. Whether that be wisdom, whether it be, we've maybe had some financial windfalls and maybe giving some to charity or throwing a bit of a party and that type of thing. All these different things are really much associated with Lughnasadh. Lughnasadh is also a time when it's named after the god Lu, and he was a bard and a musician, and so it's a time to celebrate the art. So it's this real celebration of hard work, Lughnasadh. So we often, you may find that we always have these goals in life, and we want to do this, and we want to do this, and we want to do this, and you get to a goal, and you tick the box, and you go on to the next one, you go on to the next one, and we don't enjoy it. So this full moon in Leo that we're talking about and Lughnasadh, both are times to really take stock and enjoy what we're doing and making sure that we're enjoying what we're actually achieving. Lughnasadh, I find, is a really great time to focus on the sacral chakra. Again, the sacral chakra is about pleasure and creation and really enjoying those different things. So, Lughnasadh is traditionally on the first of the month. However, as we know, our Gregorian calendar isn't exactly in alignment with how we are moving around the sun. It's slightly out of whack. So the date will alter from year to year. This year, it'll be on the 3rd of February. So around the 3rd of February and even the first few days of February, it's a really great time for us in the Southern Hemisphere to get out to, look at all the fruit on the trees and all the harvest that's being done. If you live in a rural area, maybe where there's a lot of farming, you'll see they're starting to gather all the food as we head towards winter and that type of thing and bring it all in. And it's when we take stock of what we've been doing and really bring that in as well. If you like the tarot, the Three of Wands is very much a Lughnasadh kind of kind of card. So really, celebrate with friends, bring in some food. Check out my YouTube video on Lughnasadh for other tips as well. But the crystal that I've chosen for that, because we're focusing on the sacral chakra, it's a really great time to balance that, is orange tourmaline. So you can see it grows in this kind of wand or this kind of very ebb and flowing energy. So really great for balancing and bring a bit of harmony back to enjoying life, making sure everything's in balance, and that for everything that you've received, you're also giving back to the world as well. A traditional oil, which is really great, and also really it's traditional for the sacral chakra and for Lughnasadh, is cinnamon bark. Cinnamon bark, being a bark oil, really helps. It brings warmth into our relationships and helps us be that celebratory and get friends together and celebrate the arts. But it also helps us to make sure that we're not giving too much or not taking too much from people as well, and that we're not too removed from other people or too attached to other people as well, that we're dependent on them. So it's a really great one to lean into for Lughnasadh, and I'd recommend cinnamon bark. I love cinnamon bark, doTERRA cinnamon bark. I love a drop in sparkling water. You can include it in dishes, pop it in diffusers. It's really, really great in that way. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, this is the time when you are halfway between your winter solstice and your spring equinox. And this is a cross-quarter festival known as Emoc. Now, Emoc basically kind of translates to mean ewe's milk or sheep's milk. And it symbolizes the celebration of the first signs of spring. So what you may find around this time, if you're looking outside, you'll start to see the first baby animals coming out of their nests or coming out of their burrows. You'll see, the first spring flowers starting to blossom. And depending on where you are, maybe the snows are starting to melt and that fertility is coming in. So what we're doing here is we've been spending these cold winter months when we felt kind of inactive and we've been very contemplative and we've been focusing on what's our spiritual purpose, and we move that energy into the third eye chakra. And third eye chakra looks at what our spiritual purpose is and helps us to understand how we can actually bring that into action in the physical world. We bring in our intellect and our intuition to actually understand what our mission is and how we can actually do it. You may have been inspired to become a healer, but how do you actually heal? What do you actually do in that way? So we lean into a lot of, like deep blue crystals and indigo crystals. And one of my favorite ones is, a dark blue tourmaline. The tourmalines are so balancing of the chakras, so really lean into that at that time. But any dark blue crystal, your lapis lazulis, your sodalites, your blue pedicites, blue amber, blue rictorite, whatever you're kind of called to use, would be really great. So really focusing on that third eye chakra and balancing that in that way. And of course, I've got other videos on my channel which talk about intuition and enhancing that, and other ones on third eye as well. Nope, here goes back. Hello, tail. Pop down. So other things that we can do to celebrate Imbolc, we can, another activity is I love to grab some seeds and hold them in my projective hand, so the hand that I write with, and I think about my intentions for the year ahead. And I kind of send them into those seeds, and then I plant them. And then I even put some little quartz crystals or some other crystals in that pot with them that will kind of support their growth and make a bit of a crystal grid in there as well. What I love about this, I love it for two different reasons. The first reason is you're going to get this beautiful, the seeds will germinate and they'll send as they grow, so should your intentions as well, and they send them out into the universe. But there's also a valuable spiritual lesson that happens in doing this activity as well. Because if you plant your seeds around the 3rd of Feb, and then you forget to water them and they end up dying, what does that tell you about your spiritual intentions? What does it tell you about your life intentions? That maybe you neglect them and you don't give them the love they need. I also like to scatter some seed around my yard at this time. Some people have, different opinions on whether it is what it's like, whether we should be feeding the wildlife. But I think we've taken enough of their habitat. We can give them a helping hand after the harshness of winter as well. So it gives them a hand and also invites that new life and those new animals into your space, onto your property as well. Other beautiful things to do, help out anyone who needs a bit of a helping hand. Traditional foods, you might want to have a bit of a celebration at this time. Traditional foods are anything dairy and anything spicy. So curries and chilies, even some sprouts and different things. Garlic, chives, dill, raisins are traditional around this time, and blackberries. And blackberry pies are often baked around Imbolc because the sun is obviously weakening, and so the sun, which represents the god, it's a weakening of the masculine force, or the death of the masculine force as we... It's also a great time... This is also a great time to maybe have a celebratory meal at this point in time. And so, having different things such as, it's a great time to have a celebratory meal at this time, and traditional foods are traditionally spicy or hot foods and dairy. So any dairy foods, chilies, curries, little sprouts and shoots and things like dills and garlics and all those kind of things that get the body kind of moving again. You want to, after this date, you want to start getting out there, going for walks, getting back to the gym, exercising and moving the body, however make you really enjoy that. If you're going for bushwalks, try and find a different flower each day and try and learn its name, and even search. There's some great books that tell you their spiritual properties and start to expand. Yoga, sun salutations are all really great ways to work with that energy of Imbolc. Essential oil wise, there are traditional ones such as basil, cinnamon is very traditional around this time. Styrax benzoin is really great. Then you also want to lean in with the third eye chakra oils. So this is things like your sandalwoods, your peppermints, your spearmints, your basils, juniper berry, fennels can all be really great. The one that I love and that I'm choosing for this year is basil. I think with so much distraction out in the world, basil is great. It helps to put a scorpion in your mind. Helps you really focus on what you need to focus on. It works with the third eye chakra, and it also helps to counteract things like exhaustion and adrenal fatigue. So I will have this doTERRA's one in a veggie cap or anoint it on my adrenals or on my feet at night, especially when we kind of get excited about diving into the year and what we're going to achieve. We don't want to exhaust ourselves. We want to still have that laser focus of, I'm going to specialize in this one thing, and basil will help you in that way as well. So not only a traditional Imbolc oil, but also a great third eye and focusing oil as well. Of course, Imbolc and Lughnasadh happen at exactly the same time. So the 3rd of February is a time for all of us, whether we be in the Northern Hemisphere or the Southern Hemisphere, to celebrate that position of the sun. Now, one little crystal for a bit of crystal porn that I was telling you about was saying, now I've got cats fighting. Maybe it would have been easier to be outside with the wind. So, we're talking about orange tourmaline and blue tourmaline. This is one of my favorite pieces, which is orange tourmaline on one side and blue on the other. So on the 3rd of Feb, that's what I'll definitely be reaching for. So, as we were talking about when it comes to retrogrades, there's no major retrogrades happening in this month. We have 3 planets and asteroids going direct that are kind of of significance. The major one would be Mercury going direct on the 4th of February. So when it's been retrograde, we've been a bit more contemplative. There may have been some communication problems. And the main theme of the first Mercury retrograde of 2022, as I talked about last month, is thinking about how do I make this world a better place, especially in the work that I do. Now that it's direct, Mercury is back. It's supporting you to do what you want to do. So this is a really great time to get out there and start making a difference. And that's been supported by that new moon in Aquarius as well. So it's really about, it's action time. It's showtime type of thing. So the crystal that's going to be really great for this is blue fluorite. Blue fluorite is going to help us communicate. Those that are celebrating Emoc in the Northern Hemisphere are really going to work with, blue crystals are all going to benefit them as they work with their throat chakra. What I love about blue fluorite and why I've chosen this blue crystal is it grows in squares. And any crystal that grows in squares allows us to build upon what we've already got. So this will really help you to build upon the success or the steps that you've already taken in the past and build and expand on them in one way or another. The essential oil that's going to work really well is Arborvitae. Now, Arborvitae is great during a Mercury retrograde because it helps to ward away any distractions and helps us stay focused. What we want to do as Mercury goes direct is we want to remain focused on where we're going. Arborvitae are these big cypress trees that grow in North America, up towards the heavens. How are you going to grow towards the heavens, towards your heavenly purpose, towards your life mission? Arborvitae stops you from getting distracted and keeps you on task. And so it's going to be a really great one to pair with your blue fluorite around Mercury going direct. Now remember, when do we feel the biggest influences of Mercury going into retrograde? When it goes into retrograde. So that would have been around the 14th of January. And when it comes out, so that's going to be around the 4th of Feb. So leaning into Mercury retrograde things, such as your blue fluorite and your Arborvitae, are going to be absolutely great. Okay. Other little retrogrades that you may feel the kind of impact of, you may not. One is Sedna. Now Sedna is way, way, way out in the icy depths of our solar system. The Sedna is a goddess of sea and of the animals, aquatic animals and that type of thing. She had a bit of a tough, in her mythology, had a bit of a tough life, married this guy, he was pretty harsh, killed her, tried to kill her, threw her off his boat into the ocean, and she ended up, becoming this goddess. So what she's about and what she governs is being victimized and actually being empowered through that victimization. So you may have been felt, now she was in retrograde since late last year, and you may have been feeling a little bit taken advantage of or disempowered or victimized in one way or another. And this is a way to start setting boundaries on how you choose to be treated and how you want to be, how you want to other people to treat you as well. Sedna is very much about, self-respect and self-discipline, and boundaries are a form of self-love. Self-love isn't just taking bubble baths. It's about actually respecting yourself and giving yourself the best. And Sedna really encourages you to put that into action as she goes direct. So she's been in retrograde, you may have been feeling a bit victimized or taken advantage of, and now it's got time to go, no more. So the crystal that works really well is Hemimorphite. So Hemimorphite has a bit of a watery connection, as Sedna does. And this is a crystal, obviously, again, we've got a lot of throat chakra crystals this month, which is great. This is very much about being open with our communication. And sometimes I call this the crystal confession, that people tend to just say a little bit more than they mean to, but they say what they've been meaning to say. So if you're a bit shy in establishing what you want to say to the world and setting up those boundaries, then this is going to be absolutely brilliant as well. The essential oils, either white fir or Japanese peppermint. White fir really helps us to get out of old habits we've been in where we keep on getting discriminated against or being disrespected in one way or another. Sedna really helps people that are maybe gay or women or black or in any minority where you feel that you've been taken advantage of. This is time to stand out. And white fir helps us to start breaking those patterns once and for all. Japanese peppermint, I sometimes nickname paradigm mint. So it's about shifting paradigms, shifting the way we approach life, shifting the way that we see ourselves and we see ourselves in the community. And so it can be a really great one to meditate with, to diffuse, to even pop, if you've got doTERRA's one, to pop it in food and beverages, to flavor them, to bring that energy out. The final one that is going direct is a small asteroid by the name of Antinous. Now, Antinous was actually a gay lover of a king, and he died in these really unusual circumstances, and so they basically made him a god. And so he's basically a god of homosexuals and gays. And so this asteroid tends to kind of help out, people that are gay. I don't know why I got really awkward about that then. I just was lost for words. But basically, what happens when he's in retrograde is those that are gay may find that things aren't just going that well for them. They're just feeling a bit, like life's not flowing nicely. It feels a bit awkward. People that are straight may just find that they're kind of contemplating a little bit about, their own sexuality and how they feel. Now, this should change around the 24th of February. Antinous goes direct. He supports homosexuality and feeling comfortable with our sexuality. And so you may feel that life just flows a bit more as well. If you need a bit more support, this is where we'd lean into. Beautiful Stichtite. Stichtite works with the crown chakra being a violet crystal, and Stichtite helps us to realize that we all have our gifts and that we share, different things with the world, and we can teach these skills that we have. If we look back in a lot of ancient cultures, homosexuals and gays had a different role to play in society. They didn't try and be like the straight men. And so it's about understanding what are your gifts and how do you share them. And this is applicable more so. Antinous has more of an influence on gay men than gay women, but overall I think that there may be a little bit of influence, and Stichtite's a really great crystal to work with in that way. The essential oil that I love, it's an absolute, it's hyacinth, and hyacinth has a gay connection as well. Hyacinth is very much a coming of age and getting rid of, the innocence and not knowingness and getting out there and being bold in who we want to be. But any other light flower oil, like an osmanthus, can be really nice around this time. Ylang ylang can be really nice around this time. It's just about feeling more comfortable with our sexuality and probably our sexual identity would be a really good term as well. So, those are the major things that are happening in February 2022. Overall, it should be a pretty cruisy month. I think this is a nice time to just get our asses into gear, start thinking, okay, what do I want to achieve in this year? How do I make this a better place? What's my message that I want to bring to the world? How can I be more empowered in the ways that I'm being and not be ashamed or shy of who I am? And get out there and shine. So remember that the heavens will always be dancing around, and planets will go retrograde and direct, and the moon and the sun will change their position. But Mother Earth is always here to support us. She gives us crystals, she gives us essential oils and many other gifts because she wants us to thrive. I hope this video has given you some few tips on what to expect throughout this month and some tools of what you can lean into to help you to thrive in whichever way you choose. Until next month, I'll talk to you with my next forecast in March. I'm Adam Barralet, Crystal Connections. Blessed be.